God have mercy on me, a sinner. I know what I'm supposed to say. The lines on the script say that I'm okay. Standing on an island, I can only hear the silence, deaf to the crowd that I claim to know. Standing in an ocean, I can barely feel the motion. All these waves drag me down and I feel like I gotta go. I'm a castaway. These are lines from a song by Crow called Castaway. That's the first verse. We are people who would rather grow still and die than move forward and change. We'd rather drown than fall headfirst in the void, letting go of our grip on comfort and what's known. I wish I had better words, but I don't. One can die before they physically die. A person can drown without water. Death is only the cessation of movement forward, and therein it can take many, many forms. Individually, we all suffer from the virus of the fear of change. We are so afraid of it that we get mad at people for changing, either for good or for bad. Relationships end because people change, and we are left where we were. I don't even know who you are anymore, goes the line. We would rather leave beloved communities because too much has changed. It's all unfamiliar. This isn't anything like I remember. We cling to dusty relics, hoping they will bring us the same joy they once did, but no longer can, and maybe they never did in the first place. We strive for happiness by thinking that all we need to do is to find that thing that used to be. We valorize former versions of ourselves, thinking that if we want to be happy now, we need to go back to something that we believe used to be, but never was. My face is wearing thin. These thoughts, they chafe against my skin. Lost in the crowd again, and I swear I met this guy who seemed like a friend. Wow, look how far I've fallen. Now everything's dark, and I don't want to fall again. I'm a castaway. It's verse 2. We ourselves resist change as if change itself is the last word, forever forbidding us from comfort and peace. I find this virus in my own flesh. I get stuck in wanting to reach and stretch backward to retrieve some form of me that was something better than I perceive myself to be now. If I could just get back there, be that person, recreate that sensation and feeling, then maybe I can be happy now. Maybe I'll reach for some music, some habit, some fake mentality to recreate what I am convinced was there when I was 16, when I was 21, when I was 30, and we'll stop there. But it's a lie that kills the present and thus erases both the future and the past. Trying to go backwards to retrieve something and drag it into the present prohibits me from going forward and forces the past, its stories and memories, its sensations and feelings, to bear a burden it cannot hold. The past cannot be the present, because it will dissolve into dust as soon as I make it be so. We even resist change with every weapon it has when it threatens to take from us what we have grown accustomed to and know, what is familiar. We shun off anything new for fear that it will swallow us whole and forbid us from never having comfort again. Change threatens us. As we resist change and forbid moving forward, we remain stuck in the past and captive to what was. In other words, we are dead. It's okay to feel alone right now. I promise one day that we'll make it out. Disney movies always have a happy ending, but I'm not feeling too happy yet. So I guess it's not the end. Is there anyone out there looking out at sea? Because I'm kind of scared now that there's no one there for me. Should I mention our desire to maintain systems and judgments, ideologies and dogmas that have long ago expired, systems and structures starting off well, meaning and decent, becoming septic and toxic when we, in our voracious hubris, would rather die than see something new take its place? We'd rather that people suffer than maybe change the smallest part of the way we think about things, because that change would require us to die to something that has brought us too much comfort over the years. We'd rather leave people behind who love us because they've changed rather than dare to change with them. We'd rather go cold than admit defeat or fault. Isaiah 53. He was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and acquainted with infirmity. And as one from whom others hid their faces, he was despised, and we held him of no account. Surely he has borne our infirmities and carried our diseases. Yet we accounted him stricken, struck down by God and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have all turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. By a perversion of justice, he was taken away. Who could have imagined his future? For he was cut off from the land of the living, stricken for the transgressions of my people. They made his grave with the wicked and his tomb with the rich, although he had done no violence and when there was no deceit in his mouth. The agony articulated by one of the Isaiahs is our agony. Today, this is where we are. Agony. We are in agony because we are exposed to the core. Somehow we must hold the goodness of our divine creation and our guilt of complicity in the myriad forms of death swirling about us. We can be good and guilty. We can be beloved and guilty. We can be good and guilty of participating in systems, narratives, ideologies, theologies, dogmas, and doctrines that harm other people and ourselves. I know I am guilty of this. I know you are guilty of this. We are all convicted here. Isaiah's prophetic prayer highlights that whether we know it or not, whether we want to admit it or not, we are in agony and we are suffering. We are suffering because of our resistance to move forward, our fear of change, our inability to let go and fall into something new. Thus, this suffering is not the product of divine chastisement. It's the product of our own two hands. We are caught up in the muck and mire of the tension between being held captive and being complicit in our own suffering and the suffering of others. Isaiah says, all have gone astray. We have all turned to our own way. Each of us is called to account for our complicit and captive actions against the revolution of divine life in the world. Because of our actions against the revolution of divine life in the world, we're hindering it. So we are in agony. We are suffering. We are stuck. We are captive, and we are exposed. That's what today is about. Rather than let Christ's voice call us, Christ's actions challenge us, Christ's presence change us, we clamored for Jesus' death. Crucify him! And we got it. Because we hate change, hate being challenged, hate being called to move forward, the judgment of God is surely upon us. Not just you, me too. Today, in this story, we are reminded that Jesus bore our iniquity, our very, very, very bad judgment. Our judgment that was informed by the doctrines and dogmas of the kingdom of humanity and not informed by the kingdom of God. Jesus' presence threatened us, and we killed him because we didn't want to move forward. We didn't want to change. The weight of that judgment as we watch and witness the death of God by our hand renders us to our own death. Today, our incarceration to our own comfort, to what makes our own selves feel safe, comes to a cataclysmic head-on collision with God, and none of us survive. Not one of you leaves here unscathed. Today, we all got what we wanted. We forced the past to be the present and erase the future. By our own hands, we realize and affirm our captivity to our own fear and our being buried in anger. Today, we stop moving. Today, we are dead where we are as we were. Because today, we killed God.